it's the episode we were discussing was the murder one, and it's the concept in the show itself, in the episode itself, would be something that you could not get away with now, because as we discussed in it, is he was trying to give her a sleeping pill. He was trying to give her a Mickey. And then there's a concept of perhaps a husband committing homicide and her just trying to convince him not to. And, the whole thing just around the sleeping pill alone is really is not something you would get away with, I think, in 2021. I think you have a lot
no,
of
no,
that.
I think there'd be like an outroar.
Cancel
You
culture.
can't give. Yeah.
Well, there are certain episodes I haven't seen stuff in syndication in a while, but I remember that when I got the DVDs, I was like, wait, I've never seen this episode. So I started to see a pattern in certain episodes that were kind of never shown or rarely shown versus ones that were always shown.
Right.
And then I said, okay, well, like the murder one was one of them. There was a couple with the spankings, Ricky likes spankings.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
That is always so awkward to watch
Right?
him just put her over his lap.
You're right. And you know what the craziest thing is? I made a video on that, on like inappropriate I Love Lucy moments, and I put like that in there and a couple of other ones.
Mhm.
And it's really interesting to see there was a divide there. There were some people saying, no, you're picking at straws here. Everything in Lucy was sanitized. And I'm like, really? And some people agreed with me. But it was interesting, people's perspectives and what they thought, was going on. And, there was even one episode where Lucy said, no, I think she said something like, I need more than 10 minutes for that. And some people made this whole like comment about it and how, they went into it. And I was like, okay, I don't know if I'll get into that, but it was
right.
fascinating.
Or the seance one where it's like, Lucy, you don't like the way I vibrate? And it's kind of like, sir, what are we saying? Or I think yesterday as we discussed, what was the other? Well, first of all, let's talk about the beds. I mean,
oh yeah.
Somehow there was a little Ricky
together.
Yeah. A migration from one bed to another.
Right. And so, and the word pregnant and, all of that, you kind of have to see that it's a sign of the times. But when you pick it apart, if you really want to pick it apart, it's, a lot of, I'm hoping I don't upset Ricky because he might physically harm me, and a lot of that
or
is,
get really mad. Yeah. And like, there's some times where you see like she's, when she doesn't get her monthly accounts in order, things like that. And I just wonder
the fear in her eyes.
I wonder how it would feel right now. Like if I did something and we were in debt at home and I had to tell my husband, like I wouldn't have that fear. I would feel maybe a little guilty, like, oh, I maybe spent too much money.
Mm-hmm.
But like the idea that like you didn't do something and now you've got this fear, and even Rick, what you were talking, the one about Ricky makes Lucy a schedule, like the idea that she would be able to, that he as a husband has the right to say, yeah, you've got 10 minutes for that. And that's where that line was, I need more than 10 minutes than that.
Mr. Littlefield wanted to
do the same.
Watch him could be watch her perform. I think this is like a trained seal. And so if he liked that concept, I go on it tomorrow. I'm sorry, what? This is just it's
and they don't play that one much, right?
I haven't seen it, no. But I mean, you and I and Ziva, we all know it because we know all of these from front to back. But just the idea that if the husband sees what he likes, which is a full-on schedule of minutes, broken down for the wife to perform, then she goes on one. It's a very uncomfortable thing now with 2021 eyes. Really, it's what we're doing because it was probably accepted in the 50s, and she didn't even have children at that time. I don't think in the show, right?
She didn't have children in the
show.
So
the schedule was just for her minutes of her day while he's at work. It's just very odd. It's very odd.
I think the funniest one is in the Ricky and Fred are TV fans in that TV episode, and then Fred runs out to get, I think I don't know, some type of drink.
I think
And
I
then
know
he
what you're
comes
saying.
back, right? And then he's trained himself to do anything in less than a minute. And I was like,
Yeah,
what? Did I hear
that's a
that right?
line. That's a line. Yeah. Yeah. We're all kind of like, okay, it's the unspoken joke. Now,
Right.
here's a interesting one because I don't know if we all have the same answer, but what is your least favorite
Ooh,
I Love Lucy one? Because I have one that just stays in my mind. I wished
yep.
it would just delete from
From the whole
you
thing.
know, yeah, the whole thing.
You start then.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely the one where they go to Scotland. I'm sure you
The
like
musical one?
it. The musical one. I
one?
cannot. And the dragons and the no.
I think
Please,
it's so funny.
please,
It's
what
so
is it?
stupid.
Men in Black, you know, kind of like
Memory
zap.
erase it.
Yes, erase it
I'm in
from all
love
of
with the
our.
dragon's dinner.
Yes.
Yeah, I
love
can't.
the
I can't
That
watch that.
line.
I love that one.
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
it's because they like put it as a dream. I don't know, but it's so stupid. But I get it. I get it. I
the
can
dream ones are
understand.
always sad because she also dreamt that he left her for another woman.
Oh my
Remember?
I
goodness,
Is it-
detest that
yes.
episode.
Yes, the dream.
Ricky's new girlfriend, right? I think
Yeah,
that's what it's called. It's horrible.
yeah, she's panhandling with Ricky, with little Ricky, and now he's like
Yeah.
a grown man, and he's a
Right.
big star, and it's
It's
just
creepy.
yeah, yeah, it is creepy. So, what is your least favorite, Rick?
I would have said the Scotland one because
Okay.
I don't enjoy watching it. I really don't. Like that's not a fun one to watch. And that one that you just mentioned, I can't stand that dream sequence, and I don't like the fact of that woman coming in and he's like leaving her. I don't even
Dancing
know how to-
away.
And they use the baby to
Yeah.
like bring him back.
Yes!
I was like, no.
Yeah.
If
And then he
this
just pats
doesn't
him on the head.
if this doesn't convince you to stay, that's disgusting.
Yeah. I have one. I don't know why it didn't come to me like as soon as you said, do you
Mhm.
have one? I skip it every single time.
Uh-huh.
And that's Lucy Cries Wolf.
Oh.
Oh,
I
okay.
hate that one. And I think
Why?
That's
so like I
interesting.
know that at the beginning they're playing it up and they're having fun and like she does cry wolf and I get that. I hate that at the end of it when she actually gets tied up and like you know the robbers cut like they don't do anything. They're just like all right, whatever. And like I get that it's supposed to be like well then don't cry wolf, but like how many times have you I don't know in your life you say something saying you know lying about something even if it's a white lie once or twice like it's not enough for you to never be able to go through that again in your life, you know what I'm saying, like
Well, I think
or for
Ricky
it to
probably had
happen.
enough with the calls of, you know, in the faraway phone, like help, help, and she's like, you know, going away from the phone, and even Lucy or Ethel and Fred, they walk in just annoyed. And but what I did love about that particular episode is when they finally know that she's on the ledge. Is that the same one?
Yeah.
Okay. And she starts giving away her things. And how many days until you remarry for a mother for little Ricky? About 10 days. You know, she's almost falls off.
Almost falls off.
Yeah. But that's interesting that it annoyed you that much.
Yeah, I just don't I think it's the end that I just can't handle. Like
Yeah.
I'm like all right, like and they're supposed to be like her husband and best friends, so like you already had your laughs and your jollies when you did all of that stuff while she was on the ledge. Like you got back at her, so ignoring her when she like if they had looked at her, she wouldn't have been able to tie herself up like that. And they're just like, all right, you tied yourself up, okay, blah blah blah. And I'm like, you already had your jollies making fun of her, like
Didn't they
take a look at her
congratulate her
actually,
and give her an
yeah,
award
I
for
just
best
I dislike it. I don't,
performance?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
You know which other one I don't like?
Mhm.
And I think the reason is because I don't feel like there's a punchline in it. Maybe I missed it, or maybe it's just not for me. But I believe it's called Ricky's Life Story. It's the one with Minnie Finch.
Oh, yes.
And
Okay.
I don't like, right? Like Ricky gets punched at the end.
Yeah, by her
and-
husband, right? By Minnie
right,
Finch's
by
husband.
Minnie Finch's husband.
Right.
And I feel like that whole episode, I'm kind of waiting for the climax. I'm like, okay, what's what's the point where I'm supposed to like laugh, or what's the silly part where Lucy's trying to outsmart Ricky, and I kind of don't see it, and then it kind of ends, and I'm like, okay. So that was one that I'm like,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, kind of yeah, I'm trying now. I'm playing the episode in my head now to
I'm
try to
kind of
figure
doing it too to
out
see if there's anything
that we're missing. But yeah, it's and there's a lot of them that, for me, my favorite ones, I don't know about favorite, but one of the, up there are the ones where they're in the country. I feel like there's a different feel, different vibe to it because, they got a different background. You got the neighbor, which is same one they used throughout the entire thing anyway, so for various characters. But how do you guys feel about, I know Ricky's supposed to be like this, you know, hot star that all the women fall over. But in those country ones where, I'm sorry, what is his actress's name? She comes, the country club dance.
Oh, Barbara Eden.
Barbara Eden. Yeah. And so she, takes his attention because she's the beautiful woman. I always wonder what that did to Lucille, because that was really her life in real life. And I just thought, like, how is she okay with some of these writings? Because even though I know you're supposed to suspend disbelief, you're not supposed to know all this in the background while you're watching it, but we all know it. I just wonder how that felt for her doing episodes like that.
I mean, I think, if we talk about it just for a teeny second, heading back to things that we don't like, and this isn't a whole episode, it's just more of an idea from the show, is that, there's always this background idea that, the women may not be good enough for the men. They might have gained too much weight. Mm-hmm. They don't look as pretty. I mean, there's that whole episode where they go to charm school because the men aren't paying them any attention.
Right. The charm school one is very
and
insulting.
It's funny. It's a funny one, but again, it touches on those ideas that, like, okay, you're not meeting these requirements, or even, one Fred jokes about, hoping Ethel put on a different face, and they're like, oh, same one, like, it's a joke, but it I think it's at this
the expense of
and this deep-rooted idea that, women have to stay put together at that time. Even now at some point, to some people, after marriage, they have to meet these certain requirements physically and for them to be, for the men to stick around, mm-hmm. But you see Fred, and obviously that's not the same for men. Like, it's just whatever, but, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, no, definitely it's rooted in that. Yeah.
And I think that, so you bring in an actress that's, arguably as pretty, if not prettier than, and I think that they have completely different features. So I don't know. I mean, like, they're both stunning in my mind, but, like, it's arguable that there are people that find that more attractive than Lucy. And so, you have these moments where, she does have to go real life and in the show where it's, she's fighting for,
the affection,
top ranking of her husband,
Right. And I think that's hit on a lot, because even in the what do you call it, the Lucy Desi comedy hours, where, she's older and Lucille is, and so she's trying to be the girl Friday. I think we discussed that. And it's always, she goes, and the other women that are up for the job are all young, pretty girls. And she's trying to emulate what they're doing, which is, put your hair up, tie your shirt, kind of look sexy for the 50s, because he's going to be staring at this woman for the entire time that she's employed. And so she feels less than. And I think we saw some of that with the diet episode where, same thing. She's trying to lose the weight so she can kind of match these young ladies. And that's the premise of the whole thing. And the charm school one, that's over the top, which is also a cross of Gilligan's Island, with Mrs. Howell being the charm school teacher.
Yeah.
which I love. Which I love, you know, when those all those characters kind of cross each other. But how do you see that, with the how they looked at feminine roles, Rick?
I think that's an interesting topic. The way I always saw it, and of course, as I grew up older, I mean, I was always looking at just the zany scenes when I was a little boy, right? But
Mm-hmm.
once you become like a teenager and you become in your 20s, you start realizing some things and seeing the scripts in a different way. The way I always saw it is the reason why the show is so popular, even most of her shows in general, is because they're very relatable, right? This
Mm-hmm.
isn't a show about like Lucy in space,
Right.
like it's like, we can say that. It's like, well, how do we even understand that? But I think the idea of, okay, you live in the city, you live in a small apartment, you're trying to make it, right? You're married, and then you're trying to have a baby and so forth. So I feel like a lot of couples at that time could relate. And so what was happening is it's almost like you're seeing a lot of the show in your own life, at least in that time. And so a lot of the audiences connected with that. But then Lucy would kind of turn everything upside down, right? She would make that situation that was maybe uncomfortable, difficult, insulting, however we might define it. And she brought it power in her own way.
Yeah.
Whether that was like I don't know, like I look at those scenes, I look at that diet scene and I see all those women who are like, they purposefully bring in these models
Mm-hmm.
and then put Lucy in like baggier clothing and everything.
Right.
And she rolls everything up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously she wants to look funny. Like we're supposed to laugh at how she
Yeah.
looks.
Right.
But we're looking at her the whole time. She is the one who's holding the power in that scene, not the other women.
Right.
And I kind of saw that as a carbon copy to the whole show in general.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I saw interesting about it as well. That, in the end, and then the icing on the cake was Ricky with his bugged out eyes looking at her like, what is this woman doing? Like, why is she
Right.
turning everything upside down? Why is she making my life difficult? But he
And
loved her, right? Because he said that. He would always say that, right?
And what's interesting that you mentioned that isn't that the premise of her entire career is because she never down to going to, is it theatrical school when she was, a teen, or acting school, to the huge production company that they put together. She never felt like the Ava Gardner, the beautiful damsel in distress. She was always, she learned from Buster Keaton. She learned from the, Red Skelton, from the best men.
Right.
And she kind of knew she had the comedic chops to make people laugh and ran with that. So at the end of the day, we're not really just remembering her for being glamorous, although she was, when she dressed up and all that, but we're remembering that talent and all the characters that she was able to pull off just on the Lucy episodes alone. She would morph into different people. And you got these Carol Lombard, they couldn't do things like that. They were just pretty faces to look at. So it's kind of like who stands out the most in the show and in real life. And it was the same concept, I think.
Yeah, I think I know I get all these comments on YouTube, and some of them are very fascinating. One was, why are a lot of the celebrities male and very few females? And I thought about that, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, that is true, right? There's a lot of males. And then when I thought about it, I was like, yeah, but Lucy's hanging with those guys who essentially were the focus at that time,
Yeah.
and she's getting the best of them,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Like they're coming to her show, and I'm sorry, but I don't know many people that know William Holden other than us geeks, right?
Yeah.
But Lucille Ball, everyone knows Lucille Ball, right?
Right.
And he was the big head honcho there, but now everything's flipped, right? And so I think that's the genius and just the versatility that she had, that she could look great in an evening gown, but then make you laugh hysterically, like within
In a
3
man's suit.
seconds,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when she wears a man's suit. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
It was beautiful to watch. You're right, because in one moment she's Harpo Marx, and then the next one she's, wearing that beautiful anniversary dress,
Right.
and so yeah, I do love that. But what other show would you say on your channel do you love? I guess second to the I Love Lucy one.
Oh, it would definitely be Gilligan's Island.
Oh, okay.
The reason why I love that show so much. It's ridiculous. It's, it's the premise is everything about that is ridiculous. It's almost a live action cartoon. And that's kind of what I would summarize it as, because a lot of people are like, wait, how is it possible? I'm like, they're asking all these reasonable or reason-esque questions. And I'm like, that's like asking, why does Bug Bunny always have a carrot with him?
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, this is literally a cartoon. And I think that's one of the best, like, portrayals of like a cartoon made into a show. Then that's not what they essentially did, but I mean, that's what's happening. So a lot of that show is great to me. Hogan's Heroes is a very serious show that was made funny. That's one I really love.
I love that show.
You
Yeah.
like that show?
Love that show. Yeah.
It's
one of the first shows, even before I Love Lucy, that I started to watch like on repeat as a young child. Like, and when I say young, I mean like in my teens, so it wasn't that young, but like, it does have such serious, I mean, they're in a prison of war camp during a war, but like they somehow make it funny. And it just, that's another one though, you find out about, I can't remember. I had to have been like in my early 20s when I found out that Bob Hope was murdered.
Oh, Bob Crane.
Bob Hope
Bob Hope was not murdered.
Right, yeah, not Bob Hope.
The main actor, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Was murdered, and like then just finding out like his life and things. Bob Crane, yeah, I'm sorry. His life and stuff like that. It just, that was one of those ones where it's like, whoa, whole life outside of this show, but I love that. And so we're editing and we can take this out, but I do need to cut this. I need to go soon, so you guys can keep talking.
Oh no,
if you want, but it's been over an hour, so I just want to spend some time with Apollo before we,
Yeah, no, absolutely. This was I think we got plenty. I think we.
Yeah, I think we could just make it a whole episode. Like, in all honesty, we could just put this as an episode, because putting this in front of an episode is going to make that episode real long.
Oh no! This could not be an introduction.
I thought it was going to be like an intro to one of our episodes, but this is definitely just going to be an
episode by itself. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Which is totally fine.
Yeah. No, we'll do a lot of cutting because we left, we came back. We covered a lot of things, but no, I really do appreciate Rick, you taking the time, because, we had scheduling here and there and all that, but this was really fun. I think all three of us really love talking to other nerds of all things Lucy, Desilu, and old classic shows. But yeah, once this goes live, we'll let you know. And thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to you.
No, it was great. It was an honor, and the fact that you invited me after several times. We couldn't the first time and so forth, but we made it work, and I was determined. So
I love watching your channel. So if you ever need any of us for anything, we're available.
Perfect. It would be great to pop in here and there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.